we washed our split peas really good. Same thing is going to apply for the rice. Do not put no dirty rice in the pot, okay? Make sure you get the rice, rinse it really clean until the water runs clear. We are removing all of the starch. And not to mention, if you're going to be eating vegan, aka ITO, okay, you got to make sure everything is fresh. We only cook with fresh ingredients and ingredients that's cleaned and washed thoroughly. Nothing more, nothing less. Tonight on Veggie Delights with Tammy, we are going to be making Dahl. D-A-H-L. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dahl is Indian inspired. However, we are going to put a little twist on it, right? And we're going to kind of make it sort of Caribbean style, Dahl. But nevertheless, Dahl is a superfood because it's made with split peas. And when I tell you it's great for digestion and packed with tons and tons of protein for that nice, lean muscle mass that most of us desire, trust me when I tell you, Dahl is really healthy and tasty. If you don't have yellow split peas on hand, you can use red split peas or even green lentils. Either way, it's going to be super tasty. For this recipe, you want to make sure that your water is nice and hot, boiling and ready to go. All right, and we're going to start to season the water. So I want to add some salt. A little brown black pepper may get into the pot, but that's okay, simply because I had this mix for an earlier video that I was shooting. All right, add a good amount of salt. I want to also add some green onions, aka scallions. All right, and we're also going to add some regular vadalia onions. However, feel free to add yellow or white onions. Gonna add all of the onions. Trust me, we're gonna need some good flavor going on in this pot. Also gonna add some garlic. And with ITO cooking, you don't usually add seasoning. However, we wanna bring some flavor to this dish, all right? We're gonna add some veggie bouillon cubes, and that will definitely get the party started. If you don't want to add the seasoning, you don't have to. And we're going to introduce our split peas to the pot. Give it a good stir and a good mix. Make sure everything is perfectly combined. And we are going to allow our split peas to cook for about, I want to say between 45 minutes to an hour, or until they're softened. Let's add some turmeric. The turmeric is not only going to give it a nice yellow color, but it's also a great anti-inflammatory as well. And last but not least, we're going to add a Scotch bonnet pepper. And I know for those of us who know about Scotch bonnet pepper, I know you're probably like, oh my God, this Dahl is going to be spicy. It's going to be super hot. No, because we're not going to boil it, aka we're not going to break it. We're just going to place it in whole. And what's going to happen is all of the delicious flavors from the Scotch bonnet is going to literally intertwine itself into our Dahl without it being too spicy. All right, get that in there. Once you're done, you're gonna cover it on down and let it cook and do its thing. Let's check on this Dahl. Woo, nice and hot and ready to go. Now, when it comes down to the Dahl, and you know, during the last couple minutes of the cooking process, once you remove that lid, the Dahl is gonna be literally splashing all over the place. If you gotta wear long sleeves, wear long sleeves. If you wanna wear gloves as protection, wear gloves as protection, because it's sort of like making porridge or grits. It's just that splishy, splashy effect. And you don't wanna get burned by split peas because it burns really hard, really bad. All right, this texture right here for me is perfect. However, if you wanna smooth the consistency, you could definitely go in with the immersion blender. Hubby says, you know something, babe? No immersion blender, please. I like it like that. That's the texture that I prefer. So, all right, no problem. But if you want a smoother consistency, you could definitely go in with your blender and just, you know, basically break it down a little bit more until you get your desired consistency. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to be serving up this Dahl, make sure to remove the Scotch bonnet pepper. Or if you like a lot of heat, then hey, you know what I mean? Break up the Scotch bonnet pepper, distribute it throughout the dish, and you'll be good to go. As I mentioned before, even though it's Indian inspired, we're gonna put our little Caribbean twist on it even more, okay? Not just by adding the Scotch bonnet pepper, but also by doing this quick little trick that I'm gonna show you in 2 seconds. Fresh garlic, okay? Take those garlic bulbs, garlic cloves, whatever you wanna call it, and we're gonna slice it up really thinly. All right, to a little hot smoky pan going on, we're gonna add some oil, good drizzle, okay? We are gonna add our garlic pieces. Not only are we allowing the garlic to toast up, but we're also infusing the oil with that delicious garlic flavor as well. Okay, so give it a couple seconds. Pan is nice and hot. It's gonna take no time whatsoever. For this recipe, you could use whatever your preferred oil is. I'm using avocado oil. If you want to use a seeded oil, you definitely can. Check out the garlic. Looking good, looking good. We're gonna turn our stovetop off. And we're gonna allow our garlic to burn even more. Burn garlic, what you talking about, girl? You'll be surprised, trust me when I tell you. We're gonna stop the cooking process, so I'm gonna add some room temperature oil to cool it down, okay? That's it. Even though dal could be enjoyed by itself, I decided to pair it with spinach and rice with okras. Yes, we are gonna go all in with this vegan meal, okay? When I tell you this vegan meal is gonna be really, really tasty and packed with power, protein, and tons of superfoods, let's listen. You guys are definitely going to enjoy this recipe because it's going to be so flavorful as well. All right, let's see what we have here. To the hot water, we're going to start off with adding about a tablespoon of kosher salt. If you want to use, let's say, pink Himalayan salt, you definitely can. But we're going to add as much salt to our liking and preference, of course, and according to the amount of water that we do have. We're going to start off with adding some green onions. The green onions is going to bring out a lot of flavors, okay? We're also going to add our yellow onion. Well, actually, this is a yellow vadalia onion. Use whatever onion you have on hand. We're going to start off with adding our spinach, okay? Now, this is fresh, organic baby spinach. However, if you're going to get, let's say, the spinach with the stems, you could start off by removing the stems first, and of course washing that spinach thoroughly. After you add your spinach, we are going to add our rice. Okay, we're going to use our fingers to assist us with getting the rice out of the strainer, simply because it's wet. We're going to give everything a good stir to make sure everything is perfectly incorporated. Now, when it comes down to the ratio of rice to water, you want to make sure whatever the amount of rice, you want to double the amount of water. So if you're using 2 cups of rice, you want to make sure you add 4 cups of water, and so on and so forth. 3 cups of rice, 6 cups of water, and also depending on the amount of people that you're going to be feeding. Now, another thing, I'm using parboiled rice, okay? So, of course, when it comes down to using parboiled rice, it's always double the amount of water. However, if you're going to be using, let's say, maybe jasmine rice, or even basmati, or even couscous or quinoa, brown rice, every brand could be slightly different, so refer to the back of the package for that information. I'm not going to add any coconut milk to this recipe tonight. However, if you want to add some coconut milk, you definitely can as well. The coconut milk is going to bring out some extra flavor. It's going to give it that nice creamy, oh my goodness, creamy melt in your mouth flavor. Not to mention the coconut milk, for those of us who think is going to make it sweet, it's not going to be sweet. It's just going to be creamy and decadent and delicious. Now, here's the thing. I went ahead and added the spinach, and I'm going to allow the rice, as per the fact that it is parboiled rice, I'm going to allow it to cook for about 20 minutes. However, in 15 minutes, I'm going to check on our rice to make sure that we have enough water going on. The texture of the rice is where it needs to be. Back in the days, quick story. We used to eat, Granny used to make rice and callaloo, and she would also incorporate the okras in there as well. If she couldn't get her hands on callaloo, then she would definitely use collard greens, but either or, it had to be some type of green, okay? And when I tell you it was so flavorful, it was so flavorful. And of course, she used basic ingredients. So the recipe that I'm sharing with you tonight is very similar to what we ate as kids growing up. All right, my loves, it's about 18 minutes so far. I know I said about 15, but I got tired of doing other things, all right? Let's check on the rice. Absolutely gorgeous. In the meanwhile, what we're gonna do is we are gonna turn our flame off, okay? And we're gonna continue to incorporate the spinach with the rice. Look at how beautiful. If you've never had spinach with rice, you definitely gotta give it a try. You definitely have to give it a try. Not only is it super delicious, but it's a step up from regular rice. You know what I'm saying? All right, now would be the perfect time to add or incorporate our okras, okay? Now here's the thing with the okra. I do not like okra to be slimy. I really don't. I tried the soaking method and so on and so forth. That does not work. What I like to do is incorporate the okra in between the rice while the rice is extremely hot. If you could catch it like 5 minutes before the rice is cooked, fully cooked, even better. I'm gonna cover it on down, and the heat that's locked into this pot is gonna cook our okras all the way through. And guess what? It's not gonna be slimy at all whatsoever, I promise. All right, take a quick look at the okras, right? You realize the color is a little bit more vibrant. That's telling you that our okras are nice and soft. However, you're still gonna have that you're still gonna have that slight crunch in the okra as well, which is definitely a plus. This is good. You know what I mean? This is some good stuff, okay? In less than an hour, we are eating like champions. You know what really gets me? When people tell you that two things when it comes to eating vegetarian or vegan. It's either it's too expensive, which is definitely not true, right? Or they just don't like eating vegan. And the question is, have you even tried eating vegetarian or vegan foods? And I think it has to do with just not knowing how to put certain things together or certain recipes, which is normal, you know what I'm saying? But that's the whole goal of this channel, to demonstrate and show you that you could basically take anything and literally on a budget or a dime and create the most beautiful, healthy superfood dishes ever. All right, we're gonna go in for a delicious taste. I already know it's gonna be busted, baby. Let's get some of the garlic, toasted garlic, of course, with our Dahl. We got the rice and greens going on. And let me eat some of the okra, okay? Whoa. Whoa. This is some good stuff. This is some good stuff. As you saw, we use nothing but fresh ingredients, and this is the outcome. This is amazing, okay? Flavorful to the T. All right, the rice and spinach and the okra, perfectly seasoned, even though we use green onions, and just salt. That was more than enough, okay, to give this rice dish tons of flavor. Not to mention the incorporation of the Dahl. We got the spices going on from the turmeric, along with the green onions, and we use the veggie bouillon to amp the flavors even more. And we have the flavors of that little hint from the Scotch bonnet, that little bit of heat. Man, this is a winner. Definitely give this recipe a try, my loves. I'm gonna leave full recipe details, of course, and I'm gonna continue to show you that you don't need certain meats or certain seafoods in order to enjoy a delicious meal. All right, catch you guys in another video.